HarperCollins presents An Atlas of Extinct Countries, the remarkable and occasionally ridiculous stories of 48 nations that fell off the map. By Gideon Defoe. Read by Ben Allen. Introduction. Generous to a fault, they died doing what they loved, exporting tin. Countries die. Sometimes it's murder, sometimes it's an accident. Sometimes it's because they were too ludicrous to exist in the first place. Every so often they explode violently. A few slip away unnoticed. Often the cause of death is either got too greedy or Napoleon turned up. Now and then they just hold a referendum and vote themselves out of existence. These are the obituaries of the nations that fell off the map. The polite way of writing an obituary is dwell on the good bits, gloss over the embarrassing stuff. A book about dead nations can't really do that because it's impossible to skip the embarrassing stuff. There's far too much of it. The life stories of the sadly deceased involve a catalogue of chancers, racists, racist chancers, conmen, madmen, people trying to get out of paying taxes, mistakes, lies, stupid schemes, and a lot of things that you'd file under the umbrella term of general idiocy. Because of this, and because treating nation-states with too much respect is maybe the entire problem with pretty much everything, these accounts do not respectfully add to all the earnest flag-saluting in the world, however nice some of the flags are. If you're a contestant on Pointless and want a book that sticks to a firm definition of what a country is, you are owed an apology. You could write a very dry essay on all the failed attempts to define what counts as a country, and if very dry essays are your thing, then there are already a fair few out there. None of them get particularly close to an answer. There is something in biology called the species problem. The problem being, after years of arguing about it, nobody can agree what criteria actually define a species. Countries are no different. We switch definitions depending on whether we're at the United Nations, playing football, singing in Eurovision, or buying cheese. It's a mess. Having said that, here are some arbitrary rules. I've avoided delving too far into the past, because talking about ancient places as nation-states is sort of meaningless when the idea itself didn't exist until the last few hundred years. I've ignored empires and colonies. I've left out places where the name has changed, but the shape on the map has stayed the same. I've then immediately forgotten those rules by including Silla, Axum, New Caledonia, and the Congo Free State. Please address angry letters about that to Richard Osman or the UN Secretary-General. Or just pretend it's in the tradition of Herodotus, which is a fancy way of saying that the story is more important than getting bogged down in endless caveats. Caveat. Caveats are good, and you should be rightfully suspicious of anything that tries to sum up the history of a place in 500 words. If X nations seem unimportant in the big scheme of things, then it's worth remembering that, like a Marvel superhero cash cow, countries don't always stay dead. Humans live in a constant state of changing their minds about the type and number of other humans they want to be categorized with, so we oscillate from tiny blobs to huge empires and back again, and there's no reason to assume that process will ever stop. Within a decade, some of these geographical zombies might claw their way out of the graveyard and back into the Atlas. Please send hard currency in lieu of flowers. All hail, neutral Morine. A note on the locations. These maps
Sample complete. Ready to continue?